Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another Wednesday night live stream. And today, hopefully everything's working okay. I think this is probably the most successful start to a stream that we've had for a while, which is good because we've been doing it for a few weeks now. But yeah, as the title says, we're going to be looking at the new Space Marine drop pods. Now, of course, as was always the case with these kind of things, Games Workshop sent me this early. This has been sent to early. So it's the new drop pods. It's kind of going to be a mixture of a review and then also trying to incorporate them into my Raptors army. And they're quite straightforward to incorporate, really. There's not much that would need to be removed from this to get it kind of fitting my Raptor style. But I'm going to see if there's any extra bits I can add to it, make it a little bit more customizable. But I thought it's been a while since there's been a generic Space Marine Primaris kit that's been released, so I thought let's just kind of look at this because I haven't done anything for my Raptors for a while, and then we can kill two birds with one stone. So hello to everyone on YouTube and hello to everyone on Twitch as well who's watching. We're streaming at both platforms, so I hope everyone has had a wonderful week. So yeah, I think, as a couple of people have said, we had Misfit earlier and also Captain Poseidon. I hate that you drop pod kit's basically terrain and not a mini. And the unusual thing about this, so there's two things, and I'll get to it a little bit more when I talk about the kit itself. But there's two things where the drop pod was always, in my understanding, I never really got in the game, but a lot of people would kind of would not have arguments about whether or not you measured from the doors or you'd measure from this or the other, and they technically are, I think, a little bit cheaper now as well, because you get two in a box for like, was it 50 quid, something like that. So yeah, you lose a lot of customization, which is good, but I think for the amount of people who may be using drop pods, it's a strange one. It's a strange kind of, they've gone back on themselves in a way, but then it's fixed other issues. But yeah. So, I think we're just probably going to jump straight into it. I think there's probably no point messing around too much. We're going to just kind of start. As always with these, if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask them. I will do my best to answer any questions that you have, and we're going to jump straight into it. So, first of all, like I said, there's two of these in a box now, as opposed to being just one in a box. So I think they are a little bit cheaper overall. So the sprues consist of, you get two of these ones, which are basically the base, and then two of the upper struts, and then the actual top of it, and then you get an extra sprue, which is basically just the struts and a few more of the rubble piles. Now, the rubble piles, I'm a bit confused by, really, because the way that the Games Workshop article stated that these worked was that the rubble piles were optional, but they're obviously not entirely optional, because there is still some like rubble attached. I think you need to attach some of it as part of it. But I mean, so far, pros, there is a lot less to build if you want to build drop pods. So if you're just kind of looking to build a model quickly, then it's good in that regards, I suppose. That's kind of like the most positive thing I can say. But we have literally no customization as far as I can see here. We have a small kind of smattering of little chapter icons. We've got the Imperial Fists. You could use them as Crimson Fists as well. Raven Guard, Ultramarines, Space Wolves. There's a bunch of these ones that you can use in there. There's Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Black Templars. But then apparently there's no Iron Hands on here as far as I can see. I guess you could maybe use the Imperial Fist one and change the color, but yeah, nothing really too. So I think for me, what I want to do is try and look at this kit and figure out a way to make it a little bit more personal. Add that detail back in where I can without going overboard. So I think the first thing I need to do is probably remove these Legion, what are they called? Imperialis, or Aquila. Are they Aquilas? Oh, they're Aquilas because they've got the two heads. But yeah, the Imperialis is the one with the skull in the middle. Yeah, it seems like quite a straightforward kit to build. You can build these quite easily. I think from like an army perspective, if you're building an army, it's easier and cheaper to do it with these, but the old ones were better kits. And from a Kitbashing point of view, we're kind of losing a lot of like cool components as well in that regards. But it is what it is. These are separate though, which is nice. I can see them being used in some pretty cool conversions, maybe at some point in the future. Why can't the doors open? The best part of marine vehicles to me is that there are toys and show you the engineering. I think this is the main crux of it. I think people, maybe Games Workshop thought that people weren't using them because the people didn't need them for their armies, because or they were too expensive to use for an army, so there are better alternatives, or I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if the rules have changed. I don't know if they're points-wise any cheaper or anything like that. I haven't checked really on them for a while. So I'm guessing they're trying to make it so that there is more of a market for them by making more in the box, easy to build, those kind of things. That's the only reason I can probably think. Norok Vice, is it Vice? You could probably rapture it by adding sub-air ammo packs to the inside. That's kind of the direction I was going to go. There's a few extra little bits as well. So if you look at the little kind of turbine as well, there's a little bit of a patch there where you would normally add in the icons. I can probably add something to those as well. I'm not sure what. It depends what I've got in my bits box. Eternal Crusade. I hear the plastic is closer to terrain quality. So it's not bad. To be fair, no, it's not terrible. I do think it's the biggest giveaway is that you kind of have this kind of it's almost like vacuum formed. It's not, but it kind of has that vacuum formed vibe to it. How you have this hollow interior. I think that's probably the biggest similarity. But I mean, it feels about the same. It doesn't feel particularly bendy. The quality isn't bad really. I think there's a few shallower bits, but these obviously are just the indentations. So the bits where you can see, yeah, I mean, I think this look quite shallow. That's probably the most terrainy part. It's not as bad as some of the terrain pieces, but yeah, definitely not quite the same. But yeah, interesting. Be honest, Pete, you attempted to make a giant pouch as a drop pod for Raptors. I mean, it technically is. A drop pod is just a big pouch, isn't it? Just full of Space Marines. Alright, so you can see how simple it is to build it, actually. That's the instructions. It's literally stick the 4 spines to the turbine section, stick the bottom on it, stick the door, and then everything else is optional. It's an incredibly simple, straightforward kit to build. I'm sure some people will be really happy about that. Some people really hate how complicated some things are to build. Having built Horus Heresy vehicles and units, there is a lot of extra components that go into making those, so I can definitely see where some people have come from. And I guess as a company, it's probably, this is from, I'm playing devil's advocate here though, because I know exactly where my opinion lies. As a company who sell, and they've always said that they sell kind of, they've said a mixture of things in the past. And they've said they sell miniatures, and then we sell rules to go with the miniatures to explain why their rules were bad. And then in the past, then they've gone and like priced miniatures at the value they have on the tabletop. If they're an independent character, they'll be more expensive than if they're a generic character. So yeah, I think it's a big model to have. It's a big model that takes up a lot of space anyway, and I think people are just not choosing it because once it's dropped, it's kind of useless. So it blocks line of sight, I guess, but it is a ridiculously large footprint. I think finding somewhere to easily place this down on like a standard battlefield will be difficult though. I mean, I'm not the person to talk about those kind of things. If you want to know more about that kind of thing, then it's more of like Hellstorm Wargaming's area of specialty. It's not badly detailed though. To be fair, I'll give it that. Goes together quite nice and easily. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah. Pete, do you still do commissions for conversions? No. I don't. I mean, I never say never. The biggest reason I might do some more in the future, maybe like as a one-off, or maybe something through Patreon. I don't know. Basically, the commissions, I do like to do the commissions every now and again, but I often have so many ideas for the channel that I kind of have to do the ideas for the channel first rather than the commissions. And whilst some ideas for the commissions are really good and would make for a really good video, some of them are kind of I've had people say, oh, can you redo this particular model that you did for this video? And if I'm kind of spending that time on a model, then I would rather do something new and obviously be able to get a video out of it at the same time. So at the moment, no, but that's not to say that I will never ever not do any in the future. Itty Bitty Painter over on Twitch. First time live viewer, watch your YouTube channel stuff all the time. Well, thank you very much for joining the live stream. We are live on YouTube and Twitch as well, so wherever you prefer to watch your live content, I am there. How hard do you think it would be to shave all the rocky terrain from the bottom of the pod? Probably quite easy. I would say not too difficult. I think the problem that you'll get, the removal is not the problem. The problem you'll find is, and I'll quickly demonstrate this. So if you remember what the old drop pod had, I mean, you can't really see it here because if you removed all this, you would basically be left with just empty holes. So rebuilding this would be the problem. The actual removal, very straightforward, quite solid lines. You could saw up there, clip away, easy. The original drop pod model had the kind of, it had a little bit that kind of came out the bottom here. The only thing I'm going to say is I wouldn't be surprised if we see an old style drop pod kit get released for Horus Heresy at some point in the future. If we go off the fact that most stuff from Legions Imperialis seems to have been getting a Horus Heresy review, so the little mini scale Legions Imperialis stuff, so the Tranchler sentry guns, they got released. The little I forget all the Horus Heresy ones, the ones that kind of like the ones that got released recently, the tracks with the guns on them, they were in plastic. They were in miniature first, then became plastic. The command squads, they were miniatures, tiny scale, then they became Horus Heresy scale. So yeah, everything seems to have, and obviously we've got drop pods and vehicle drop pods as well. So maybe, just maybe, there might be the old style kind of drop pods coming back. We'll see. We can dream. Pete, can you do a Night Lords Abaddon? Do you mean a kitbash of Abaddon as the Night Lords, or a kitbash using Abaddon for the Night Lords? Zexy Flea, thank you very much for the super chat. 10 Australian dollars. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Good morning from Australia. Well, good evening from the UK. We are opposite ends of the world, both seasonally and time-wise. But I hope you're having a good morning so far, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Benny Big Mac, what is your favourite chapter? Raptors, of course. I mean, that's kind of like goes without saying. Yeah, I think in terms of other chapters, though, the Raptors is kind of like an obvious pick for me. I quite like Space Wolves, mainly because I like the aesthetic. I think it's pretty cool. Never really gelled with Blood Angel aesthetic. Never really gelled with the Dark Angels quite that much until I kind of saw more of the Horus Heresy stuff. I quite like their style there. It's pretty cool. But I've had a soft spot for Black Templars. I used to have a Black Templars army when I kind of first started doing 40k, so it's been quite nice to see them getting new miniatures. And around the time that I started collecting was when they first got their original plastic kits released for them. Okay, so that's everything. That is literally all the parts. You've just seen me clip away all the parts required to build this. And obviously I need to clean everything up. But from what I gather... oh, hang on, I need to clip away one more. I lied. There's one more strut needs to be removed. Yeah, it's 3 on this one. I finished building the Forge World Charybdis last month for my death, and all I can say is never again. The Forge World one, I know there's a plastic one, which is a hard kit anyway. But what is that one? Oh, is Charybdis? Is that the Chaos Dragon? So we're gonna have a quick. Is it the Old World Chaos Dragon? Is that what I'm thinking of? Probably wrong, but it's interesting to know. Warriors of Chaos, let's see. And that's Gorlak. Okay. Maybe I was wrong. Which one is that one? Oh, for Death Guard. Okay. What is that? Forge World. Is it still for sale? Is it an old one? Ah, okay. Drop pod with the claws. Yes, I know what you mean. I know the one you mean. Because I know there's Dread Claws. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that those are pretty horrible to build. I think most Forge World vehicles are from what I gather. This is interesting actually. You can see the inside as well. They very much simplified the interior of it. I mean, you can looking at the detail for the sizes, you would have not lost much detail, but the interior of the drop pod is definitely much more simplified now. There's not as much, but it's better scale for Primaris, I suppose. That's the most I can say. It's the actual gates look like they could hold a Primaris Marine in. Do I have one? Yes, I do. So it's more of a reasonable height to hold a Primaris in. So I guess there's a resolution in that regards. But yeah, it's a much more simplified kit. Ever considering doing any of the older Aldar gods, Kegorak or Aisha? So Kegorak is interesting. I think that might crop up because obviously if you haven't really sat in and listened to the lore that I've done for my alternate heresy series, which is based around Kegorak doing some trickery in the warp and redirecting the Primarch's drop pods to different Xenos races. I think he would be a good option to have, maybe even not that the physical manifestation of it, more of like an avatar, kind of how we have the Avatar of Cain. So there we go. That's basically, when you're building this, you would build it more like that, I suppose. To be fair, this actually just kind of goes together even without glue. It's not a bad kit objectively, but if we'd never had the original kit, it wouldn't be terrible. But yeah, I've not even glued it. Okay. Yeah, you can see the simplified interior a lot more clearly now. It's pretty much just like a central column. Does give me a bit more idea of what I can do in terms of extra bits though. I'm tempted to maybe I don't like that though. That's not nice, having this kind of like big cavity, because you can just about see into there. So maybe I could have something hanging down there. Maybe we could have something on these little sections here. Those definitely need to get gotten rid of. Yeah, we can probably do something, customize this a little bit. Not ideal, but there you go. That was how long? 20 minutes, and I haven't cleaned it up, to be fair, but it's not a bad assembly. I guess that would go like that if it was. But yeah. that's probably the most egregious part, I would say. That seam is going to be very obvious. Very, very obvious. Nudok Prime, thank you very much for your super chat of 10 English pounds. I think YouTube ate my last super chat. Anyway, I fixed Niggle Demon Prince. It made it look like a fat flying toad with a unique pose. Looks more like brother than clone. Glad I didn't go up. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Whenever you kind of get to a point in any project you're building, you will often get to a stage where you feel like it's not going the way you want it to. And that's fine, because sometimes you can't always visualize how everything comes together until you actually start building something. You can plan as much as you can, and you can go crazy on the planning side of things. But every now and again, the planning just does not help you at all, and you need to just fix things on the go, or maybe even go back on yourself. But it can get very disheartening, because if you had a plan and it just flies out the window, getting back on track can be tricky. So whenever you're kitbashing, if it's not going well, take a step back, maybe step away from the project a little bit and just kind of think about the problem, and don't give up, because you will fix it. It might be difficult, it might go a different direction, but you might even make something that you never thought of doing otherwise, and it ends up being better. So yeah, glad to hear it. You could drape a camo net to hide it. Seems like something Raptors would do. Yeah, Count Joe 1, you've got to trust the process. So many of my builds have changed halfway through, and it's very easy to look at one of my videos and be like, oh, well, he had this idea going through the whole process, and this is how it was going to work. And a lot of videos don't. A lot of videos end up being, you see them on these streams. I will often start off with one thing in mind and an idea of where to start off with, but then it just kind of something, the size isn't right, the parts don't line up that I want, I can't get my hands on the components, or everything works, but then it just doesn't look how I imagined it. Just persist with it. Spycraft Von Davin. Happened to me with my scratch build Toe Dragon. Sculpted the whole mount in one go and then had it set on a shelf for a month. Came back to it a few days ago and I fixed it with a new rider. Good. Yeah. I have got a project that's been on my desk for... I think it's been on my desk since last February. I think I would say maybe even earlier. I don't know, but it's been over a year now. And I've kind of I've known what I wanted to do, but I've never really had. There's been bits I've not really known how to get around, and I'm going to segue now. I'm going to segue after talking about something completely different, because it is a very good kind of way of segueing between the two. But basically, I've teased this a little bit on the stream. Anyone who kind of came up to me at UK Games Expo this year as well got to see some of the bits, and I think I shared it on one of the streams. But there is another kit in the works, and whereas last time I did a Kickstarter and I did a Game Found and I did kind of like a whole crowdfunding thing, I have not done that at all this time. I've gone through I've doing it with War Games Atlantic, and I've basically funded it myself. I funded the tooling process, which isn't cheap, but I've funded it myself, and we are basically removing all of that entire process. The parts are already sculpted. They're with War Games Atlantic, and they're going to be hopefully tooling it. So fingers crossed we're going to have something this year. I'm going to probably have a like not quite a Kickstarter, but like a pre-order period where I'll kind of have it available to pre-order. I'll have some discounts for like pre-order period if you buy it initially. And then after that, I'll just go onto my website. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get something out this year. If not, it'll be very early next year. But as I alluded to in the previous, the base of the next kit is going to be called Arcane Artifacts, and is effectively, I don't have any to hand actually. Right, I think I have some here, some of the old... Yeah, so these are some of the prototypes that we had made. So it was like things like the cauldrons, bits of parchment, books, potion bottles, scrolls, telescope, candles of different numbers and groupings as well. Some pouches is what I'm looking for. These are basically the 3D printed prototypes, very kindly printed out by Ross from Warhammer. So if you're looking for any 3D printing information, then Ross is your man. Yeah, so but anyway, as I was saying, I have this project on my desk, and I didn't really know what to do with it for ages. And then I kind of thought, once I'd actually kind of designed and developed these parts, I was like, these are going to be perfect for that. So I'm going to sit on that, and it's going to be released once these get released in plastic. But yeah, there's going to be no Kickstarter this time. It's going to be hopefully much more of a straightforward streamline. It's going to be a plastic kit again. And just to reiterate the point, Dead Animal Bits is still available to buy from my web store, sparepartsemporium.com. If you are looking for spray paints, Dead Animal Bits spray paint, I've got that as well. I've got the full kits, I've got some nice stickers, and I've also got single sprues as well if you just want to get a single sprue. These are only shipping to the UK and the US at the moment. Europe is tricky to ship to because of Brexit and other things. But I'm hopefully going to have some sort of solution set up for Europe beforehand, before they go live. But I'm going to have like a pre-order through this web store, so anyone who wants to kind of get their hands on the kits first and then maybe a little bit of discount, I probably do some like sprue bundles and things like that. So yeah, that's something to look forward to this year. I will give you updates as and when, but at the moment it is pretty much just with Wargames Atlantic, and they're doing their thing. So yeah. Canada. Yeah, so Canada's another tricky one. We will definitely have, so if you're looking to buy them at the moment and you live in Canada, then I think you're best off going to Wargames Atlantic and just buying it through there, because I think they have like a shipment or some sort of distribution partner in Canada. Again, I might fix it by the time the Arcane Artifacts kit comes out, but shipping to Canada is quite difficult just because of the way that the taxes work and the import charges and things like that. It's very confusing. Coalescing Tormentum. I have that kit. Wish it had more feathers though. Yeah, this is the problem when you do like a kit that's designed for spare parts, because you can literally have a whole kit of just that one piece and it would be great, but only one, like a very small subsector of people would actually be interested in it. So you kind of have to draw the line somewhere about how much you put in there. If I ever do a second kind of follow-up kit to it, I might add some more different types of feathers, and so I might have some of the same kind of things as before. But yeah, the next kit is more wizardy related things you see on a wizard, but then also like on a space marine or something. Ironically, both kits work really well for Trench Crusade. So the first thing I'm going to do for this is just remove these, and hopefully they go away quite easy. So this is really where you kind of can first see the difference in the plastic, I think. Having scraped away a lot of regular Games Workshop plastic, these are actually quite difficult to get because the knife is just a little bit too far away. Okay, that's easy. But I've got all my Space Marine kits down here, so hopefully we can find some extra pieces. My initial thoughts are to add some parts from either Hellblasters or Desolation Marines, something like that. I've got loads of Hellblaster power packs, absolutely tons of them, and they have handles in them, which is actually a really easy way of adding a little extra detail to both a Space Marine or a vehicle. Random thought for the Xenos Primarchs, though this isn't really Xenos species, but Admech Ferrus Manus. So the thing is with, I think that'd work maybe well from one of the more alternate heresy ones rather than the Xenos specific ones, simply because you can argue, like the way that the Admech works is quite unusual. They're part of the Imperium, but they're almost like an ally of the Imperium, just very much a permanent kind of ally. Where's my files? So it would be interesting to see what kind of an independent Adeptus Mechanicus would look like. Maybe away from the Imperium, maybe doing their own thing. Maybe if they weren't quite as restricted by the Imperium, they had their own kind of more of their own structure and control. That'd be interesting, and maybe like a Primarch affiliated with them. Raptor egg confirmed. I always said that Ferrus Manor should return as a dreadnought with his skull interred. I still think that there will be at some point we will see a loyalist Primarch who is a dreadnought, because I think every single Primarch that we've seen return for the Chaos Gods has been a demon prince, which is understandable because of the way that Chaos gifts its chosen sons, which often are going to be the Primarchs because they're going to be the most powerful. But we've only had 2 loyalist Primarchs so far, and they're both Primarch scale. I think having some sort of dreadnought or dreadnought-like, or even a there's that whole thing about what's his fame, Korax. Yeah, this is Korax. Being this kind of warp entity. This is this big kind of almost like demonic bird. That'd be interesting. That'd be kind of hilarious just to watch Space Marines do the mental gymnastics to accept that this Primarch had returned and actually looked more like a demon than a human, but was still somehow perfectly good. Ferrus Manus, Legion of the Damned. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. It'd be interesting to kind of have that aspect. Just something other than well, I say human, but I mean human-shaped. More human-shaped than the Demon Primarchs, at least. Jacaro Ferrus Manus. Yeah, that'd be great. Just imagine seeing this kind of... Quite like the idea of a Jacaro Primarch, though. That would be pretty cool. I'll just glance over at the Twitch chat. I've just missed a couple of questions. Hey, Pete, run to your insight on some ideal kits to obtain spears for Minotaur's chapter and Wolf Spears chapter. I feel I'm struggling to locate spears to fit. So in the past, I've done 2 things. So let me just grab one that I've got here. Somewhere. Okay. So I did my oh, hang on, what's going on there? I've lost one of the cameras. The camera's disappeared. Anyway, I will sort that out in a second. Oh, we've lost both cameras. What is going on? Let me just turn this off and on again. Bear with me. Oh, I know why. I don't know why the face cam is not working for some reason. The cable is a little bit janky, so hopefully that works. Anyway, whilst I just kind of sort that out in a second. So if you're looking for spears, these are from the Rough Rider kit that I took this particular spear from. That works really well. And the other option is the Dark Eldar. I've used the Dark Eldar spears as well before. There's a few options for spears that you can use, mainly in Age of Sigmar and Old World are probably good options for that. Bear with me, I'm just going to try and sort out this camera, so hold on with 1 second. Okay. So it looks like the oh, hang on, it came back then. Oh, there we go. We're back now. Okay, cool. Just as I was turning it off. Yeah, so as I was saying, lots of spear options for Space Marine scale, Atalan Rough Riders. But generally speaking, you're probably going to want to look at the Age of Sigmar range. It's not impossible either. I've seen people who've taken the spear tips from spears from different ranges, and then they've made like a fresh new rod using like brass rods, and then kind of drilling them through the hands of Space Marines. That works quite well. I mentioned Vashtor on the machine. Spirit's gone mad. Have you done all the rites of activation and burned all the appropriate incense? I have a candle here. It is Eucalyptus Rain. So maybe I need to light that. Maybe that'll help. That'll help to satisfy the machine gods. Krieg horses have some high-tech spears. 2 lasso check. Yep. Also good. I think because they're lances, they're a little bit longer, so they work quite well for Space Marine scaled spears. Okay, that'll do. I'm not going to worry too much about scraping that completely clean because it's going to be mostly hidden, I think. No, I'll do a little bit more just to make sure. It's going to be hard to clean up otherwise. We're just going to do some quick cleanups just on the joins. I'm going to go back and clean everything else up afterwards, just because if I don't do this quickly, we're going to end up with mostly just me cleaning up mold lines for this video and not actually much in the way of kit bashing or conversions, which we can't have. Alton Blue, can anyone tell me if there's actually a chapter known as the Azure Hawks? I googled to check and found one wiki saying it is, but can't find them in the White Dwarf it says they're in. I would just double check that the White Dwarf it is in is the correct number, because I know for a time the US and UK White Dwarfs, I don't know if they still are, maybe they are, but I don't think they are anymore. They used to be different, so the numberings would be off, I think, between the US and the UK one. So it could have been mentioned in one number based for the US and not for the UK. So unless it explicitly says which one it is, maybe that's something to look at. But I couldn't tell you otherwise. Just going to do a quick cleanup of this interior edge, just because it's going to be easier to do this now than it is later. And that should... do the trick, I think. That's all just got to do that 5 more times. I think I might get the big file out for this one. Have you considered doing some Gene Stealer Cult kit bashes, maybe even Space Marine Corrupted Gene Stealer Cult? Well, if you are a channel member or a Patreon subscriber, you may actually see that I have technically done a Space Marine Gene Stealer Cult kit bash in a sort of roundabout way. The video is partly finished, but it is there and available for Patreon members and patron supporters and channel members to view early. Basically, it's part of my Xenos Primarch series, and because of some scheduling... Oh, the camera's gone off again. What? What's going on? So I think what might be happening is I had forgot to plug in the the power cable to the camera. So what is happening is it's kind of like trying to charge at the same time as it's kind of running. So we might have to just turn that off in a second if it keeps going off. But I think I know what the problem is now. I thought it might have been a dodgy HDMI cable, but I think that's okay. I think it's just a power issue. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, if I've basically done a Gene Sealer Corrupted Primarch. Because of some scheduling issues, it was supposed to go live. When was it supposed to go live? It was supposed to go live this week, but so I've had to move some things around for reasons that will become clear fairly soon. And so it's kind of had to get pushed back a little bit. So what I've done is I've basically made an edit of just the build section of that video. So if you are a supporter, you can watch it early. And then once I get around to finishing the painting, then I'll get back and finish the rest of the video. But yeah, that is available right now, actually, for channel members. So yeah. I'm painting Raptors because I realised I was just painting Ultramarines out of habit from 20 years ago. I don't play the game, so I'm free to paint what I want. Got some Raptors, Templars, Ultramarines, etc. I think this is the great thing. I mean, I don't really play the game either, so it does give you really great freedom in terms of you just build what you want because that's the hobby for you. If the hobby for you is building an army for playing games, entering tournaments, then great. That's your thing. But for me, I like building miniatures. I often get bored of building miniatures for a singular army quite quickly, which is why the Raptors project's taken me a ridiculous amount of time. I don't even have that like a 2,000 point army at the moment, and there's people who put out videos of like, oh, I built a full 2,000 point army in a weekend, and I'm like, I'm great. I've been working on my Raptors for 2 years, and I don't even have 2,000 points. I like the slow build. Everything is a custom model though, so I'm gonna. That's my caveat. That's why things take longer. Fog Battleship Warspite. Greeting Beats. Got to say, I'm a huge fan of your work, especially the Imperial Guard, Kitbashers, and conversions. Well, thank you very much. I do enjoy those as well. I do want to do more in the future, but I think I've got some ideas of what I want to do, and I just never get around to them, or I can't find the bits that I want to do them with, if that makes sense. There's a lot of choice for Imperial Guard, but it's not as much choice as I would have liked, put it that way. Personally, the cohesion of an army and the challenge of kitbashing things into that theme. Yeah, I think there's this is the great thing about Warhammer, really, and I'm kind of preaching to the choir at this point. But I think when you have a system like 40k, which isn't just one thing, there is lots of different aspects to it. There are people who, I suppose you can break it down to like maybe 4 distinct parts, I guess, 4 or 5 maybe. So you have people who, like me, really enjoy doing the kitbashing, conversions, sculpting, things like that. You can do that within a fixed environment that you can use for lore and inspiration. You have the people who really enjoy painting, doing really kind of like high quality paint schemes, or maybe just painting large amounts of models so they can have a big, nice display army. You have people who enjoy the gaming side of things, who enjoy really kind of going to town on learning the rules, learning tactics, trying out different combinations and kind of tweaking their list to like really fine degree. And then you have all the people who just have never picked up a model in their life, never going to play the game in their life, but are just mega into the books and mega into the lore and the background and everything like that. And that's cool. I think it's one of those hobbies which is, and this isn't just Warhammer, it also goes to cover a lot of different wargaming, tabletop miniatures games. It kind of has something for everyone. So regardless of what it is, you were all kind of joined by this common interest, even if we have different aspects that we enjoy. I don't think there's many hobbies that are like that. I think there's a few which have kind of started to become like that, but like if you look at something like Star Wars, for example, you have the people. There's a lot of things you can engage in. Oh, the camera's gone. I think the camera is gonna be dead for a little bit, so I'm gonna turn that off, and I'm gonna let that hopefully try and charge up a little bit, and we'll make the most of it. Let's just take that off. There we go. So yeah, I really like it as a hobby, and I know there's miniatures for Star Wars now, but I think there is a lot of other hobbies where you have to engage with it in one particular way, and if you're not interested in that way, it kind of becomes inaccessible, but you wouldn't be interested in it anyway. But yeah, I'm just waffling. I'm just preaching about how good a hobby it is, and everyone who's watching this video probably agrees. So will you ever try Trench Crusade? Trench Crusade. Yeah, so it's not that I'm against Trench Crusade or anything like that. I think what it was I've actually been following Trench Crusade for quite a long time, and even before, I think it was when it was started out, because what would happen was they were kind of drip feeding a lot of the artwork about the game quite early on, and the backgrounds and things like that. So I came across them when I was looking for art inspiration for stuff to do for my conversions. And I thought that's really cool. And I kind of started following the game and its progression and the different bits of artwork that were coming out in the miniatures. And obviously, recently it's been Kickstarted. And around the time of it Kickstarted, it really kind of took off in terms of popularity. And then everyone started making YouTube videos about it. And that's cool. But I didn't want to just be the kind of person who was just doing the YouTube videos because everyone else was. I backed the Kickstarter. I've got the book coming at some point whenever the books get released. I know the miniatures are going out at the moment, I think, but whenever the hardback book for the rule books and arts and everything gets released, I'll have that. So maybe, yeah. The interesting thing, and I'm going to do a little segue again just because why not? I don't have Firefox without face, so just excuse the little black blob. If you look at my Dead Animal Bits kit and you look at the reason why there are so many hands, there is this one here. So if you look at this particular piece of artwork, this is probably one of the more older pieces, one of the earlier pieces of artwork that kind of came out for Trench Crusade. I thought that the hands that were just nailed to the board were very, very cool. So I was like, when we were trying to decide what we wanted to go on here, I was like, yeah, stick some hands on there. Stick loads and loads of hands on there. So it works for Night Lords as well, but I thought you can definitely see some of the inspirations coming through. And this was developed this kit was going through development in 2023. So around about May 2023. So, so I've had that kind of interest in it, but never really engaged fully with the game or the miniatures and things like that. But yeah, you can see a lot of the inspiration for Dead Animal Bits came through for this. You can see there's obviously like these severed heads, like this particular head here. It's not like a direct copy, but it was definitely like some inspiration came through when we were deciding this. I wanted these like grizzly pieces that could be used on these kind of miniatures. And even with the next kit as well, when the new stuff comes out, the new books and scrolls, they'll be very, very helpful for these kind of games, these very grim, dark games, especially. Let's have a look, just Trench Crusade arts, just so we can. This is more of like the evil ones, but yeah, I think it's just a lot of cool aesthetics. So what are these called now? I always forget what they're called. Is it the Iron Sultanate or something like that? But yeah, the kit that I've got has got things like pennants. The pouches that I've got aren't too dissimilar from these. They're not the same. These little kind of black powder vials that we've got on here. I've got little potion bottles that could be used as that. Books, everything like that. So yeah, it's all very, very much stuff which could find its use in Trench Crusade, but then also 40k and anything that's grimdark. But yeah, Trench Crusade. Pete, have you ever done Stargrave? I've built Stargrave miniatures in the past. I didn't do them on the channel, though, I don't think. I did Frostgrave stuff on the channel a while ago, but I never played the game. Never played the game. Have you ever painted any of the minis? I found some really cool 3D printed samurai minis on eBay, which I'm tempted by. Yeah, so I've painted I've painted a lot of stuff. I mean, if you look back on the channel history, then I used to do a lot of bolt action stuff, and I still have some. Every now and again, I'll kind of come back and do a little bit of bolt action. I have some of the bolt action war books on my desk at the moment. I just quite like keeping up with the new editions and things like that. So yeah, I do paint other miniatures. Not as often as I used to, but yeah, I do. Good evening to everyone who has joined the stream since we started. How long have we been running for? Nearly an hour now. So yeah, if you are late to the party, we are doing a little bit of drop pod building, the new drop pod from Games Workshop, the new Space Marine one. We're going to try and do a little bit of kit bashing, but we're still very much in the build it phase, which is going slow because it is a kit which has lots of tabs and mold lines, and obviously inevitably I get distracted talking about Trench Crusade. What do you think of the drop pod kit? So, yeah, as everyone who was in part of the stream earlier on already knows, I think there's definitely a step down in terms of what options the kit gives you. You are very much shoehorned into building it in a very particular way. The parts are very much single use. You couldn't really reuse them for everything else. But I think the intention of the kit has been to make it very easy to build, which I agree it is. It's very few components. If I just quickly clean this piece up, I can show you just how easy it is to build. It's very, very straightforward. It feels more of a gaming piece than something you would have for a collector or a painter or anything like that. It's not badly detailed or anything like that. I think it just doesn't have the options. I'm quietly holding out hope that we see drop pods get released for the Horus Heresy, just based on the fact that we've had them released for things like Legions Imperialis. So there's still hope. I think they also do Dreadnought drop pods as well. That'd be pretty cool to see some Dreadnought drop pods in plastic. But yeah, there's a new edition of Heresy coming out, so maybe we can dream and we can hope. So, as a quick demonstration of just how easy this is to build, I'm not going to do any glue. I'm just going to do very, very simple kind of push fitting everything together, just to make sure everything's lining up first as well. But yeah, in terms of actual assembly, it's incredibly straightforward. Incredibly straightforward. Unfortunately, the cost of customization and complexity of build and posability, but yeah. You also get two in a box, which is pretty good. There you go, done. So you can see how like easy that is to build now. It is very much intended to be built. Quite a few of these. If you wanted to build a full drop pod army, I think that'd be pretty cool. The only thing is, I don't know how you would fit this footprint easily onto a gaming table. If you think about that as a Space Marine, you could probably get one or two in there, but then you've got to get this and then the squad deployed. I think what I'd recommend people do is not. I think, how big are these gaps here? These 2 inches. That's centimeters. Okay, so you could kind of keep unit coherency between the little stands if you wanted to, but yeah, quite difficult. Hello, Yankee. How are you? Does anyone have White Dwarf 467 US release? I can't find a PDF to check it if a name I want to use for a chapter has already been used. Yeah, if anyone has, I know there are PDF prints online. I don't have access to them all. I have a few. I have access to some that I've managed to acquire in my collection over the time. Fatman's Kitchen. Any tips for sculpting or making flames for Citadel skulls? Yes. So, let me just quickly have a look and see which of the video it is that I did this on. It was a fairly recent one, if I remember rightly. I say fairly recent, it probably was about 2 years ago. Let me find Pete the Wargamer. So, I definitely did this on one of my models. I basically used a technique where you take some super glue. What video was it now? It's going to really wind me up if I can't find it. So you basically put a small dab of... Oh, here we go. This is it. Right. Let me get the video up and find the bit where it did it. Okay. Let me get Firefox up and then we can get this. I don't know if I can get audio coming through from here. So to firmly place I don't know how easily you can hear Nocturne, that. I decided to create a few spots of flames. These were created by mixing up a little more green stuff, and while it's still soft, supergluing it to the base. This might seem odd, but the superglue holds the green stuff in place so that when I used my tweezers to pick... So yeah, basically, it's green stuff, you put a blob of superglue down to kind of stick it down, and then you just use like tweezers and you kind of like pinch it up. It's actually quite a simple, straightforward effect, and it does look pretty good when it's finished and when it's painted up. If you paint it right, and if you watch this video, you can see it. So let me just remove that. So yeah, so you can see the flames there. So all you would just do is super glue the flames onto the green stuff, onto the skull, and then you would go from there. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Back to tabletop. Nocturne Noble, I'm kicking myself for giving away the old Battle Force boxes I had in 2017 when Primaris were announced. Each box had a drop pod sprue. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how these get used going forward. I don't know what... I never picked up a drop pod. In all the years that they've been in plastic, I never picked one up. So I don't have one to compare and to see if the sizes of the base have changed or anything like that. So... yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the gaming side of what the gaming meta makes of these, because I think these are very much designed for the gamers. They're not bad looking by any stretch of the imagination, but I think we've lost some of the customization. So if you're a builder, maybe not so much a painter, but definitely if you're a builder, you're going to have a less challenging time. Is the way I'd put it. But we can dream that Horus Heresy swoops in, saves the day, brings us back plastic dreadnoughts, plastic drop pods, and dreadnought drop pods, hopefully. I prefer these drop pods for terrain over an actual unit. To be fair, it wouldn't actually work. It works pretty well as a terrain. If you imagine a battlefield that's been fought over for quite a while, there would be discarded drop pods just on the battlefield. So yeah, even if you didn't use them as a drop pod, I think they would look pretty good for 40k terrain. It's a good point. So Pete, how would you customize a Raptor that's served in the Death Watch? Other than the shoulder pad, would you do something that would that be something you would do a video on? It's not something I've thought about before, but I think off the top of my head, I would definitely lean more into the specialist weaponry that they would use maybe against a Xenos threat. They would be less about having trophies or anything like that. but definitely would have maybe some sort of specialized weaponry. Very much tactical still. But yeah, I think that would work well. Raptors from the Death Watch would work pretty cool. I think they would work. They would find themselves quite at home within the Death Watch. I think I read a review that said beyond a few millimeters over the end of the doors, they're the same footprint. Okay. So yeah, I think you can still use your old drop pods then if you have access to them. I'm sure there'll be scalpers on eBay already who are selling them as out of production kits. But yeah, I think what we'll find is that if the Horus Heresy, we do get Horus Heresy drop pods, it really wouldn't surprise me if they end up being of a ever so slightly different size, just to make using them in 40k difficult to do. Joe Lennox swooping in with a White Dwarf 467 for Autumn Blue. Appreciate that. Fog Battleship Warspite, we've got to go back to work. We'll catch the rest of the VOD later. We'll have enjoy the rest of your work day. I hope it goes speedily. Okay. Oh, I need a little bit of glue down here as well. Don't want to forget that. Just to make sure that these inner panels stick together nicely. Hey Pete, I want to eventually make a Horus Heresy army of Iron Hands, but they're the Legion of the Damned led by Ferrus Manus with Flaming Skull. How would you go about starting that? Well, I don't know if you just joined if you just joined the stream, but someone else on Twitch asked a very similar question, actually. I'll quickly just direct you over to this video here of mine. Kitbashing, Salamander Chapter Surfs, Nocturne Exilia. If you go back on this, I actually do some little flaming little green stuff sculpting. So if you ever want to kind of know how to sculpt flames, then this is how I'd do it. You can easily attach those to something like a Citadel skull, or maybe a helmet like a Reaver helmet that has that skull effect onto it. I think that would work pretty good. So that's probably the biggest way of getting around that side of things. Yeah. Little Templar. What did I miss? Kind of confused. It's not different from a normal drop pod here. Yeah, we're very much building the drop pod to begin with. With a lot of vehicle kit bashers and conversions, you find yourself just building the model as is, as the kit exists for the time being, just because you have to have the same basic structure. So I've kind of just been prepping it for assembly and also chatting about the new drop pod kit, explaining it to people, and obviously going off on my usual tangents as well, which is pretty much entirely what my streams end up being. A little bit of kit bashing, a lot of side questing. Right, so I'm going to assemble this, and I'm going to give the camera another go. Hopefully it's charged enough, but I feel like I've made a bit of a rookie error by not charging it. So yeah, in summary, Little Templar, there will be some more a little bit of conversion work going on once I have assembled the thing, which fortunately is quite easy to do so. So small victories. I'm just going to let that dry a little bit, and I'm going to give the camera another go. Let's let's see. Okay, so far so good, but it's whether or not it holds out for before it runs out of battery. We'll see. Pushing in a little bit more, actually, those two. A little bit of a gap there. You can see the gap down the middle. I'm not quite happy about that. It looks like these aren't going in as much as they should do for some reason. Not great. Little Templar, I missed half of that. Basically, what I was saying, I'll quickly reiterate what I was saying. I haven't really done much in the way of kit bashing yet because I'm just building the actual kit itself. I got sidetracked talking about other stuff as well, so I don't got made as much progress as I wanted to. But yeah, when you're building vehicle kits, you kind of just have to build them as per the instructions to begin with, unless you're doing really, really extreme kit bashes. So yeah, very much following the instructions here. This is the new drop pod. So I said at the beginning, it's kind of like almost a review as well, I suppose, of the new kit. Right. Once that's glued, we can actually start looking at. Just need to glue that extra panel on. I'm going to leave the extra panel that sits there just because it's kind of pointless at the moment for what I want to do. So. Honored heretic. That's a kind of an English little pitfall there, isn't it? Because honored isn't pronounced honored, but heretic is he. Anyway, yeah. So to sum up, it is a simpler kit, which is bad if you enjoy building your models, enjoy having the ability to model something open and close, tweak things a little bit more, use it for conversions. It's bad. It's good if you're a gamer and you just want to build something quicker because it's fewer parts. It's also 2 in a box and it's cheaper as well. So if you want to run a few of them for your army, it is better. So if you're a gamer, good. If you're a modeler, bad. But I suspect it's been designed with gamers in mind, personally. Right, so we have the basis of the kit. So the one thing that I've kind of omitted is the little iconography that sits on these little panels here. So you can see there's a little bit of an indentation. That is going to need to be resolved because it doesn't look very good. I'm kind of thinking that if these close up, would these close up to... Okay, so yeah, if these closed up, these would only close up to this section here. So it's just, these panels just would be this door here. So if I put something here, something like weaponry, maybe like, yeah, let's have a look. Let's try to find the Desolation Marines. Yankee, I love English pronunciation. To be honest, I obviously I know I've mentioned this a few times. I'm in a very, very I'm slowly learning German. I'm still trying. I'm not very good at it, but one of my favorite word in German so far, just because of the way it's pronounced, is for horse. And it's kind of like, a lot of German words make sense if you're an English speaker. They kind of, I'm sure that my pronunciation would probably be wrong because I would stress the wrong vowel sounds or not use the umlauts properly. But this is a very different word, and it's for horse, and it's Pferd, so P-F-E-R-D. It's like Pferd or Pferd. It's like a plosive sound, but then with like an F into it. It's odd. Love it though. Right. Okay. So let's grab the old Space Marine boxes. What do we have in here? Well, for some reason I have loads of Terminators, and I don't know why I've got so many Terminators. Why have I got so many Terminators? What do they come in? Intercessors, okay, not bad. Scouts, not what I'm after, but not bad to have. So, yeah, so I'm in the lookout for some of my Desolation Marines, because when I was building them, I had quite a few little leftover rocket sections. So the amount of German that you're using now is, I can pick out little bits of it, and I can maybe get no, I can't really. Like I said, my German's pretty terrible. I can say where I'm from. I can say I would like a hotel room with a bath, a double room with a bath. I've been really bad. I kind of set out with my New Year's resolution being to get back onto it and get back learning it. Ah, there we go, we found it. But I haven't been very good at keeping up with that resolution. But yeah, we will see. I will get there eventually. The irony is, though, I know quite a few German people, so you would think that I would probably have a better understanding of it. I don't know them in person. That it's all kind of like internet work contacts. But yeah, where are they? So I do have some bits for. Did I clip them off the sprue? I maybe did. Peter, you're going to make a video of this and paint it to your Raptors. Absolutely love that army you're making, not going to lie. Yeah, so this is pretty much me trying to explain. It's not really been... I've not found a use for it as of yet. It's not to say that it won't be. So I've got a cool little pouch box, actually. That's from Ravenwing Bikers. That could work quite nicely somewhere. To be fair, the little bottom section works quite nicely as a little extra storage compartment. I might keep that there. What else do we have? So yeah, I'll briefly explain what I mentioned earlier as well. So I've got tons of these. I bought a massive bag. They were going cheap on Bitsbox, so I've got absolutely tons of these handles. And I think they're just a really great way of adding a little bit of extra detail to surfaces. These little, you can clip these off, add them across, a little bit techy, and then these handles work really well. But that's not what I'm after. What I'm after is, here we go. So these are what I was after. So if you have ever built Desolation Marines, you'll know that these little canisters that go for the Castellan launchers, they have like two different options, and if you build them as one way, you end up with a bunch of the other options in there. So the answer is, do we have enough? Do we have enough? How many do I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 4. Do I have 5? Obviously, this wouldn't work for building multiples, but I think for the time being, it's not too bad. You know what? I think I might have actually used one of them in a different conversion, which means that I have a spare section. So I might go for something different on one of the panels. I'll use the 4 on different panels, and then I'll use this one on... oh, hang on. Hang on. He said to himself. Might have one. Let's see. I might have a spare one. Wrong box. German's very hard. Make sure to learn the article of every new noun, and you'll be fine. Yeah, that's the biggest. The biggest issue is, so I have to kind of come up with little like, what are the mnemonics in my head just to kind of make me remember. So I know that. So for example, one of the things that I do is, school is a feminine word, so it's D, and I remember that because when I was in primary school, all of my teachers were women, so it kind of, primary school is like feminine in that way. That's how I remember that. So it's Die Schule, which I'm probably was gonna. I hope there's a German speaker who can confirm that it is D, not der or das. I think a beach is der Strand or der Strand. And I remember that because I have to remember it because of Normandy. This is really grim. The Normandy beaches were mainly, there was mainly men on the Normandy beaches, and that's how I remember that that's a masculine word. Okay, I've got a bunch of them here. I think I must have used one of them for a conversion, so I'll clip an extra one off here for now. And I think baby is nice and easy one because it's like das Baby, but that's like a neuter word. Smoke launchers, yeah. So I think these are kind of like, what I'm thinking is of attaching these, and it's really, really simple, but it kind of just adds a little bit extra detail to the surface. It masks where there would have been the symbology, and it kind of makes sense that they would be some sort of concealment launchers, or maybe some sort of like flashbang launchers, or some sort of way of helping them get out of there. It didn't come to Spiel 24, so when will we finally? Well, I'm not going to make any promises, but I may. It's a big may. It's a big maybe. Come along to Spiel this year, or Spiele. When you have an ST, you pronounce it, the S, as a Strand. Strand. Okay. Right, okay, so let's glue one of these because I will lose them otherwise. So as I clean them up, I'm just going to glue them on. A couple of them I'm going to have as unopened. Oh, I need to just remove those little tabs first, actually. I forgot about those. There we go. Hope you do. It's entirely out of my hands. It is to do with someone else. So if I don't, it is someone else's problem. It's someone else's fault, not mine. That's all I'm going to say. My older brother's favourite joke related to the German language. Life is short, so tell people you love them. Life is also scary and confusing, so yell it in German. Yeah. I think Yankee might remember this one. I actually did a joke in German. And I think it was a pretty good joke. I made a meme, sorry. It wasn't quite a joke. Do you remember that one, Yankee? I hope you do, because I feel like it was a very proud moment of me using a very small amount of my German language knowledge to come up with something mildly humorous. Any conversion ideas you've had that you haven't had the chance to make yet? Tons. Absolutely tons. Honored Heretic. So many. There's. I started making lists, but then it kind of became pointless because the lists would just get too big to the point where I couldn't really do anything with them because they were just over the top. I only remember all the beer related stuff. So I'm going to see if I can find it. I'm going to see if I can find it on the Discord and share it into the Where's It, because I was very pleased with it, to be fair. I was very pleased with it. It's probably not going to be... Can I find it? It's going to be a while. What was it? How do I don't even know how to search on Discord. That's how good I am at it. Yeah. Basically, in a nutshell, it was... do you know like the meme where it's the guy and it's kind of... he's looking at like a butterfly and it's like, is this a butterfly? And it's obviously a butterfly, and everyone kind of memed on it and changed what he was asking about. So I came, as I was kind of just at the time learning what like different German words were, and obviously as part of that process you often end up, the courses teach you like different foods that are popular and how they eat in Germany, and how you, like there's a strange thing where it went into detail about how in the UK and in other countries you can buy small packs of crisps or potato chips, and in Germany you can't buy them in individual bags, small bags, like singular bags. So you have to buy them in like the big party bags, and that's because people only tend to eat them at parties. Or strange thing, just little strange little bits of information like that. And one of the ones that it kind of talked about was German spaghetti ice cream. And it's just going on Firefox. Anyone who's German will understand what this is. Spaghetti ice. And I basically had a picture of spaghetti, and it was the guy with the meme with the butterfly, and it said es ist ice, and it was like spaghetti. It was just spaghetti. I don't think it was even like spaghetti ice. It was just spaghetti. And that was my German joke. So I was really proud of that one. I'm really disappointed that Yankee can't remember it, because I think I put a lot of effort into that meme. It'll be somewhere. I'll find it. I might repost it again. But yeah. Stupid Media Productions. Thank you very much for the super chat. Is that Swedish krona 50? I have no idea how much that is, but thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Love new Raptor stuff. I just made a brutalist for my gang. Made it do a parkour over some rubble. It's pretty cool. I always like it when people do dreadnoughts that kind of have a little bit more forward momentum to them. I think it always looks really cool. Best, thank you very much for your super chat. Spaghetti ice cream, that is new for me as a Canadian. Who would buy a small crisp bag? So the idea of the small kind of bags of crisps is that it's like a individual size. You would, when I went to school, you would have your lunchbox. It would have a sandwich in there. It would have like a little mini chocolate bar in there or something. And then you would also have like a small bag of crisps as well. And it's not like the big party bags that they have. We do have those as well, but we also have individual bags. And then you buy like a multi-pack. So you buy a bag of bags, and it'll have like different flavors in the bag. I feel this is kind of like the great thing about streaming, because we've gone from talking about a new Space Marine drop pod kit to having effectively like a cultural exchange as well, which is pretty... It's all very highbrow. I mean, we are talking about Chris as well, so it's not too highbrow, but just enough. The bag of bags. It's such like a standard thing in the UK that it's kind of weird when you don't realise that they're not as common a thing in other countries. Like, you just buy big bags of I think even when I've been in the US, it's not, you can get them, but it's not as common. It's, you go down the chip aisle and it's literally just huge bags all the way along. I think in France, have we got any French people in here? Maybe anyone. If you're in the chat and you're from a different country other than the UK, can you explain if you get crisps in big bags or little small, like, single person bags? And if you do get the small bags, are they common, or is it just like every now and again you'll get like a company that sells some of them? And just say what country you're from as well. I want to find this. Lance Misley, do you plan on doing anything for the Heresy 3.0 box set, the Saturnine? Sorry if this has been asked before. Yes. All I'm going to say is yes. I have plans. Are you planning to make the doors close? Still baffled by the choice to remove the option with the new version? No. And I'll explain briefly why not. Because if I had the doors closing, that would be the outside of the drop pod. So these are very much not designed to be closed anymore. They're pretty much only a permanent open feature, and I think, as I've mentioned earlier in the video, a big part of that, I believe, is just to make it easier for gamers. It's cheaper to buy them now, so if you want to run them in your army, it's cheaper to field more. They're nice and easy and quick to build, at least, but they are also very straightforward. Yeah, it is quite a shame. If you're the kind of person who enjoys building these kits, then it is definitely a step down. It is a step down. I am holding out, though. You heard it here first. This is my prediction. We will see plastic drop pods in their old style from the Horus Heresy. That is my prediction. Maybe not this year. Maybe next year. Maybe not even next year. But yeah, I don't know any information. I'm just guessing by what we've seen from Legion and Imperialis, and their plastic stuff getting, especially if we see like Dark Mechanicum get released for Horus Heresy. Little Templar, new drop pod and travel case nightmare. Yeah, the problem that you're going to face with this, the only thing I would say with this is that you could probably get away with not gluing these to the base, which would make it easier. Not perfect, but it will be easier, because these bases just slot in fins, so you could quite easily just keep these separate, and it would make it a little bit easier. You don't really need to glue this section to this. It locks in quite easily. Right, so all we've done is added little bits there. We need to do a little bit more. We need to add some pouches, of course. So let's try and find some equipment to give these guys. Where's my bits box? There should be some pouches and stuff we can add in here. I was kind of hoping to do something with the weaponry as well, because I have absolutely tons of bolt rifles, like just like that. So I was thinking maybe it'd be interesting to have them kind of mounted. Like, could I, if I remove the hands, could they be mounted enough to hide the fact that they didn't have, that they had bits missing? Would that work? That might work. Let's go for that. I'm just thinking about where I could find. Probably no. Even the Horus Heresy kits won't save me on this one. Could we get away with even just like pistol pouches might work actually. Even just things like adding those, especially to fill up that gap, I think could work nicely, just as like an extra little weapon holster. Yeah, not impossible. Not impossible. I've got tons of those as well, so that's not a bad idea. Okay, let's go for it. Let's go for it. Solitaire, you did ask me to hydrate, so thank you very much for reminding me to have a drink. Appreciate that. Of course the vehicles need leather pouches. Why not? Why wouldn't they? They buy the pouches in bulk, so why wouldn't they want to just add their add pouches to the vehicles as well? Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Really, the gun racks. I'm going to give one a go as a test. Let's see. First, I need to get the ammunition, the actual magazine. So let's go for something which is. That'll do. That's fairly generic. Is this for the? Oh, is that for the same one? Oh, that's for the big. The big ones. Do I need the little ones? Okay. There we go. Better. Rack of server skulls on the outside would be cool, or extra communication stuff. Yeah, I think communications. I think some auspexes would work well attached to that middle section. This is kind of where I wanted to go with this. I didn't want to go too heavy with the actual construction, because I think the construction's fine as an actual vehicle. It works well for the Raptors. For something like, maybe I was doing something for a different chapter, I could go down a different avenue. A Black Templar's one with candles in it would be pretty cool. We're just going to very, very quick kind of additions here, because I am aware that most of this video has just been spent building the model. So I'm going to remove the hand, and it is obviously going to end up with a removing of the handle, but what I think I can get away with is if I clip away the entirety of that and put it against that, you won't notice anything from the underside. So if I flatten out this like so, and then remove the hand like that. Am I doing this actually off camera here? There we go. Let's actually do something on camera so everyone can see. Clip those away best we can. And then trim that down a little bit more. So I'm just going to quickly file down that surface flat, just so. And then we're going to glue the mag on. I'm going to have to remove the mag though, because it's going to sit below. So I'll do that first and then clip that away. It's a very quick and messy, but most of this will be hidden by the fact that we're attaching it to the central staff. Okay, let's see how that looks. So if we pop that there, it kind of hides. I might need the tweezers for this one. There we go. I'm going to remove that as well. Okay. So I could do that all the way around if I wanted to. I think that would work. I think that would work okay. Just adds a little bit of extra detail in, kind of fits that Raptors theme. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to do one kind of little vestibule area section, just to give you an idea of what everything would look like when it's done, because I am aware that I have done not much kit bashing in this video, even though it did say it was a kit bashing video. So we're going to try and get as much done in one section as possible, at least to give you an idea of what you can do. So what else do we have? What else do we have? We have lots of pistol pouches, so maybe we'll go for one of those. That might not be a bad idea. I do like the idea of computer components though, so let's see if I got any Auspexes. Actually, this is when the Horus Heresy is it's very helpful for this kind of thing. Let me see if I've got the, is it down there? No, bear with me 1 second. Okay, what do we have in here that we can use? So unfortunately, everything that I clipped off, I think I've already used in other builds. So, oh, hang on, what's this? Okay, that's not bad. Okay, so if you ever build any of the heavy, I think the last cannons from the Horus Heresy, the heavy weapon teams, they come with these little targeting computers. I think you can use them. I think is it the rocket launcher's last cannons? So that's like a good way if you want to add a little bit of extra detail in the interior of these, because they have this little flat section that you can attach to something. So I don't think I'll use it here, but if you wanted to maybe have a little bit of extra detail, you could easily incorporate something like this. If you wanted to do something like an Iron Hands, I think that would maybe work well, or even just to the central section, just to add a little bit of extra detail. But it doesn't really work well for the Raptors, not really what I'm going for here. So we need pouches. We've got to add pouches. We can't not add pouches. If we're going to do a Raptors build and not have something related to pouches, then I think we're doing it wrong. So my initial thoughts are to remove this little roll there and place that on this little section here, and then do the same with this box above here, so it kind of looks like there's like overhead storage. I will need to remove this dagger though, because it's too Raven Wing for my liking. To be fair, the pouches are going to be on the inside, so they're only going to be as burned as the pouches as the Marines are on the inside. As long as I don't put any pouches on the outside, we're fine. I'm just going to remove this from here. Quite difficult to do this one is because it's got a little bit of a lip, so you can't get the knife in as flush against the surface as you want. The ready weapons is reminding me of that ODST drop pods when the weapons fold out after the door shoots off. I'd be lying if the inspiration didn't come from playing Halo ODST. And well, all the Halo games that had drop pods in it. It's a bit rough, but it'll do. Okay. Now I need to remove this. What's the best way? Let's go with the razor saw, just because I think it's going to be the most... the finest cut to get through. It's a bit odd that there is no Iron Hand symbol in the set. It is a bit odd, yeah. It's definitely an oversight, which is interesting. I've seen kind of people, obviously it's jokes, but I've seen people saying, "Oh well, Iron Hands are getting retconned because they've not included an Iron Hand symbol." But there is Raptors transfer sheets now. Well, there's Raptor symbols on some of the transfer sheets for the newer Space Marine kits, the generic ones. There's one in here, actually. No. There isn't actually a transfer sheet in this box. That's interesting. Right, okay. Try and make sure that's as removed as possible. Then we're going to stick it at the top, just above one of the little stands. So I'll place that there like so. As long as it fits within the silhouette, it should be okay. Okay, and then we're left with this then as well, so that could go on the opposite side. I just need to clean that up. Just dropped it. Okay, let's give this a little bit of a clean up just to make sure that we are and then we're going to grab the tweezers because it's very fiddly in this little interior. Wow, I've lost the tweezers. Where have they gone? I'll get it. I've got a spare set. It's okay. Okay, so let's see how this looks. I think that way probably looks best because it's got like a little bit of a droop to it, so it kind of looks like it's overhanging. Okay, so I think a bolter for each of these would be work really well. And you see how we've got this like line? It's not ideal. I think maybe I've missed a tab from somewhere up here. It's just kind of pushing this outer section here, and because these are all single pieces, it's making this gap here. So I need something to kind of fill this in. And I think the bolter actually does a really good job of that. It fits the theme nicely. I would like to have something at the bottom though, just because I think it would help to blend this into the base a bit more. And obviously because I've removed the Aquila, I've got the space too. I'm not sure what though, that's the only thing. Utilitarian night house that allies themselves with the Raptors. Imagine how much storage that would have. To be fair, I've technically already done one. This guy has stowage on him. Oh, it's very dusty. This is the guy. It's not. He's just on my shelf, so he's not actually in a cabinet or anything. But yeah, this guy has got stowage on him. There we go. It is possible. A few vehicle sprues around, some spotlights would be useful, not only to blind enemies but also giving better vision to Marines coming out of the pod. Let's see what we've got. We might have some spotlights. No, I don't know where they are, if I do. Oh yeah, look, there's no Iron Hands on that either, is there? There's Ultramarines, Imperial Fists, Salamanders, and the Raptors as well. Maybe they are getting retconned after all. So what do I have that I can use? So I have the old. So this is when I built the Land Raider. These are some of the extra bits that I had left over from that. And you can, yeah, they've got a spotlight there. Could work. There's a little kind of satellite communications thing in that that would work for the center section as well. What else do we have? Right, I think I've got a sprue over there. I might have a Horus Heresy vehicle sprue. Let me see if this, because that's very good, the kit from that. I just don't have any parts to hand. Okay, so yeah, this is the kind of the vehicle accessory sprue that you don't really get with any of the 40k vehicles anymore. But this is very good for extra bits and bobs. So we have there's a kind of a calipe. Even these are cool. Even these little kind of winch points, hook points are very good. What have we got in here? Peter, I'm sure people have asked before, but what do you think of kitbashing Spartan style Space Marines? Be cool. I've actually done it. If you look back at my old video history and look for Minotaurs or Minotaurs, however you want to pronounce it, then yeah, I actually did a video using some. I think the company might have actually. What was the company? Conversionworld.de. I think they stopped selling stuff now, or they at least stopped selling physical stuff. I think they may just maybe switch to 3D printing because I think it wasn't profitable for them. But they had these really cool kind of helmets and shields and spears and stuff like that. So yeah, I used one of those for the video. You know what? I like the stuff in here. I think it has its uses. I think even the storm bolter in the top would work if I'd have not built it already, I think the little storm bolter that you can have, I think if we mounted that underneath there and kind of had it poking through, that would be pretty cool. It'd kind of be a nice callback to the old style one. But yeah, for the time being, I think we're gonna. I'm just contemplating. Yeah, there's definitely some cool stuff on here. The smoke launchers from this kit are very cool. They would work very well. I've used them on my Terminators actually, so yeah, they would work very well. I'm going to leave that for now. So let's try and incorporate something down at the bottom there. I'm not sure what though. That's the only thing. It's difficult to think of something. I ideally want a box or a storage container, but I can't think of any kits which has anything like that. Beyond, the only thing I can think is the Astra Militarum, and those boxes would be too big and they're too wooden. Maybe ammo boxes for heavy weapons teams, but again, I don't think they have them to hand. But those would work well, actually. Those would work very well. Quite like the stowed weapons, though. I'm quite pleased with that. I think that works quite nicely. The little launchers from the top there, they work quite nicely for filling in the spaces where you would normally see the little iconography. I might add these pouches to it as well, just because why not? It is Space Marines after all. It is the Raptors after all. Feel like having an emergency pistol holster would definitely be on par, on theme, I should say. So let's see if we can see where this would work best. So if we imagine that the Space Marine sits at the back there, this kind of comes down over their shoulders. So that means that would be around where their waist is. So that's kind of like, I have a Space Marine here, but he's in a base, so we have to knock a little bit of size off him. So if we knock him down a little bit, so yeah, that's roughly where the waist would be. Kind of you can see actually where that's where their backpack would go, and I can see it now. So if you look at these little indentations, that's where the Space Marine. Oh, I've actually got a spare power pack. I want to see how well this actually lines up with the Primaris packs now. Do I have one already clipped off the sprue? The answer to that is no. I have a heavy intercessor. Oh, no, I did, yeah. Here we go. Perfect. So, if I grab this. So this should... Yeah, you can see how that would line up in there. It's a little bit kind of squashed, but yeah, that's where the backpack's supposed to go. Kind of locks into there. Okay. Yeah, so if I stick something around about that point, it's almost like waist height, which makes it worthwhile. The Desolation Marines also come with extra bits as well, which I didn't think about until now, but I don't have them on this sprue. The little kind of targeting sensors that sit on the backpack, they would work really well for these as well. I said a while a lot then. I feel though that Raptor would have a turret in their drop pods. I think so too. I wish I'd kind of thought about doing that a little bit earlier before I'd assembled it. Maybe the next one that I do will have something. But yeah, maybe if you can see in the inside. So I'll show you the unbuilt one. So it's quite empty in there. So what I would need to do is have some sort of sprue structure in here, or some sort of like rod that goes through to the top, which would give me a look. I could drill it into there a little bit maybe. and then kind of almost have it suspended and kind of like a central unit, so it would sit just in that little gap that we've got there. You can just about see the gap. It's quite small, so I couldn't get my fingers in there to do anything. So yeah, it would kind of sit just in there. I think that would work quite well. It would have a very limited field of fire, but it would have some field of fire. Just a suggestion, try to Google some internal views of APVs so you could get a better grip on tactical internals or something going. Yeah, it's a good suggestion. And if I wasn't coming up to the end of the video, I'd definitely have a look at that. But yeah, I think that's probably where I need to go for this. I think the direction of having mostly the same as the base kit with just the addition of small changes is probably the best way to go with this one. I think this has probably been one of the best ideas that I've had for this particular build, just adding that in there, because anyone who builds Space Marine kits is going to have tons of these lying around, and because they are just mounted there, you can get away with just clipping away the hands, clipping away most of the components that you wouldn't be able to see anyway, and just sticking them to the central console. It does the job. It's like a spare weapon. Even just adding a few things like the extra pouches, I have tons of those. Pistol pouches could be easily hung, maybe some grenades somewhere. Again, some boxes at the bottom would be good. I feel like this is very dead space here at the bottom as well. That would be useful. I wouldn't do anything outside of this though. I think, as someone said, anything which is like a pouch to the outside would be burned off as it enters through the atmosphere. But yeah, I think for the most part, it's a good canvas. I think that is probably the highest praise that I'll give this kit. It doesn't really have much in the way of customization, but I would also be interested to see. That's another option, actually. The other option that I had would be to, if I had more time, it might be more of a main video idea than a stream idea, but would be to just remove these struts completely, so that when you have it built, it is literally just a flat floor in the center, and you could just stick on like a gun turret or something in there. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe have let's see, what one final quick look at Warhammer Horus Heresy. That'll do. These would probably be too big, but maybe something like this just in the center I think would be pretty cool. The bolter one, probably. The bolter one would work. It's quite nice and compact. I'm not sure about the size of that though. I've not got one of these kits to hand, but that would be another option. That would be quite a fun thing to do in the center of it. But yeah. Overall ideas, I think if you're a gamer and you're looking to add some drop pods to your army, then these are pretty good kits. They look like a drop pod. They build easily. They're quite straightforward to assemble. I think the fact as well that they have deployed doors, and this is the model now, it means that it takes a lot of the guesswork out as to where you measure from. If you just measure from any point of the physical drop pod, it's the same all the way around. Simplified for gaming purposes. It's a bit cheaper if you want to buy a few for an army. I don't know how much they were originally. Let's see how much Element Games had them on for. You can sometimes see how much they were selling them for originally. If I search for drop pod. So unfortunately, all of these aren't going to work anymore. That's a shame. So that's the new one. Okay, so yeah, so if you look at the old one, used to be £34 RRP, £28 after the discount. The new one is £50 RRP, £40 after the discount. So yeah, I mean, you're looking at saving, if you're running a lot of these drop pods, each two that you buy is what, £9 cheaper. which is not bad for Games Workshop, but you are losing a lot. If you look at the old drop pod sprues, if you kind of look at the old style sprue, I just want to look at the old ones. Yeah. Yeah, so if you look at the old ones, you did have more options. Like the doors were basically double-sided, so you could have the closed options. You had weapon options for the interior, I believe. There was like and you can even like have the Space Marines, like the little racks. You could see those at the bottom there that they could have them deployed. Yeah, the whole bottom's missing. Yeah. A step down in terms of an actual kind of, from a modeler's point of view, but definitely an improvement for people who don't really care about that. And there are a lot of people who don't care about that. I've met people who are tournament players who have got some of the worst built, worst painted armies. They literally have the bare minimum colours on there. They haven't even removed mold lines or anything like that, because the only thing that they want to do is just have the miniatures on the table. And as long as you can recognise what they are, that's all they care about. So it is what it is. There's always kit bashing, and there's always a Horus Heresy. We can hold out hope. Clip off magazines and put them in the spare places. Yeah, it's a good idea. I like that one. Right, so I think we're going to leave it there. We'll have a quick one little look at the drop pod. Yeah, it's okay. I would say the kit is. It has negatives. It has positives. For me, I would rather have the options. I would rather have all those extra components, personally, just because it's pretty cool. I never did buy one, though, so maybe I wasn't that bothered. But if you're a gamer, then these are better, I guess. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me for this live stream, this Wednesday night live stream. I will be back again next Wednesday. I don't have an idea of what I'm going to be doing on live stream next Wednesday. So if you have any suggestions, then please leave them in the VOD for this. This will be uploading on YouTube immediately after this video finishes. So if you have any suggestions and you want to make sure I don't miss them, just kind of go on there, leave them there. I'll keep that in mind. But yeah, thank you very much for everyone who did super chats as well. Everyone who followed me over on Twitch, I really appreciate that. There is no video going live. There's no video going live this weekend, but there should be one going live next weekend on the 12th. There'll be more about that. If you are a channel member or you are a channel member or patron supporter, there is a half video on there as well. If you haven't seen that already, you can watch a preview video that's coming out. The video might not come out for a while yet, so if you want to see that early, you can do so. But yes, thank you very much for everyone who has chatted, kept me company whilst I looked at this new and improved drop pod. But yeah, thank you very much to everyone who's joined. I will see you all again next week, same time next Wednesday. So thank you very much, guys. I shall see you in the future. Bye.